is Metal Chain and welcome to another tank review. Today we are looking at the tier 7 British tank destroyer, the Challenger. So first of all, a little disclaimer, I fucking hate this tank, so you're gonna hear a lot of fucking swearing in this video. So if you are like sensitive to all that crap, so you should probably like leave now. Well, now after they're gone, fuck this fucking tank, like seriously, such a piece of crap. That being said, let's look into the armor. You have 89, you have 30, you have 83, and right in the gun mantlet, 51. Then is 40, and on top of the roof, 10 armor, because fuck you. But the best news is you have 200 at the back of the turret. That's right, at the back of the turret. Because you know why? Because fuck you, obviously. In real life, probably meant as a counterweight. In this game, serves absolutely no purpose. There's some spaced armor that gives you 72 armor. Amazing. Gonna bounce everything, everywhere. Alright, that being said, this tank is a piece of shit. You probably heard that already, didn't you? But yeah, this tank is a piece of shit, so I don't know what else to say about it. We can compare it to a lot of other tier 7 TDs, and a lot of them are really bad. The closest to this one, I guess, is the T25-2, which also has a turret that turns slow, but if we compare the turret traverse speed, then even that thing traverses the turret way better. And also the T25-2 actually comes with a gun that people will actually feel hitting them instead of thinking that somebody is tickling them. And tickling people is what the British whatever the fuck pounder does really well. What is the fucking pound? 17 pounder, right? That's the Black Princess gun. That's the gun that Tog uses, if you didn't know. So the soft stats, they can't really be said anything about it. I mean, the power to weight is reasonably decent. It's pretty much like a Comet with slightly better soft stats, I believe. It is faster than the T25-2. There's no real argue about it. But then again, the T25-2 actually has a gun, which is nice when you're a TD with no armor, you know. The gun elevation is worse than on T25-2 and the depression is the same, so nothing really much to say about that. And like comparing it to a T25-2, I reasonably enjoy the T25-2 just because I could cope with the gun. Most people find that tank to be the biggest piece of shit in the game, so I don't really see how you could say that this tank is anything above that when, in my eyes, it kinda is below the threshold of the T25-2. That being said, it also looks like shit, at least to my eyes. It looks like a flattened fucking cromwell and an ugly ass turret was put on it. And what the fuck is even this thing on top of it? I mean, apart from an obvious weak spot that everybody can shoot before you can even see him, I get that. But in real life, was that like a fucking ventilation? Was there tea being poured into that so the crew would be always teed up and shit? I don't fucking know. Whatever the case, let's get into the game and bash some more on this shitty tank. So here's the game. As always, before we get into the action, let's go through the stats. 900 hit points, slightly above average, 52 kilometers per hour, top speed limit forwards, 20 backwards. Backwards speed limit is actually really nice. Then you have 20.64 horsepower per ton ratio and a pretty decent soft stats. So mobility wise, this tank is actually pretty decent. When it comes to the turret though, 370 view range is worse than on the Comet and the T25-2. Turret traverse 16 degrees per second is pretty much the worst you can get in this tier and this game on a DD that has no armor, because fuck you. And this stat completely buries the tank. It just, a small gun like this just doesn't work with no turret traverse, because you tend to need to like look around and shoot things quite often, and you can't do that with 16 degrees traverse speed. You need to turn your hull and then you need to re-aim your shots, and aiming time actually is worse than it kind of should feel like. So when we talk about the gun, 150 average damage, 171 penetration. Penetration is pretty much the same as on the T25-2. What other problem with this gun is shell speed, 884 meters a second. Comparing it to T25-2 is pretty much 10% better. It's slightly, the Challenger is slightly better than the Comet, but not by much. So the shell traverse travel speed is really bad as well. which makes it quite the pain in the ass to play this thing at any kind of ranges. So the stock rate of fire is 14.63 rounds a minute. You obviously can buff that up quite a bit. The stock DPM is 2194, slightly better than on the Comet and way better than on the T25-2, as you would expect. So you have 1.7 second aiming time that doesn't feel like 1.7 seconds at all, especially because you have to turn your hull a lot, as I said, and then you get fucked, well, your aiming gets fucked. 0.33 accuracy is pretty damn decent though, so you might feel like, well, a lot of those stats looked actually pretty damn decent, and you said it yourself, but everything gets completely fucked by this shitty ass turret traverse speed. Like, it is so bad in combination of the little pew pew gun that it just doesn't work at all. Plus, if you don't have a pimped out crew like I have in this thing here, you actually need to use binos, which sets you back quite a bit. I actually pretty sure I had Brothers Nam's recon and situational awareness in this thing, which actually made it able to like cope with the shitty ass U-range with just slapping optics on there. But if that is not the case, you will lose like a really big edge over your enemies. So about this game, it's a tier 9 game. It's probably where you want to ace this crap, because if you are the top tier and you're matched against like a T29, you just don't want to live on this planet anymore. But if you are like completely meaningless tank in the game, you can only like redeem your shitty ass tank, and you can't really like underperform in this kind of game. And obviously you get more experience shooting the tier 9s if you can pen them or hit them with this shitty ass gun. So far in this game, been shooting for like ever and done 1000 damage. Kind of reminds, I don't even know what this reminds. Let's see if I can pen the turtles from the side of the weak spot. Probably not. Who knows though. I think that one landed on top of the roof, and Turtles has an extremely bad roof. So it is quite often you get those shots off and get the penetrations there. Also, this was during the April Fool's event thingy machingy, so you will see these silly RD strikes. What's funny to me is that this RD strike mechanic is actually better than artillery in World of Tanks, because they actually let you know when the artillery strike is coming so you can leave, so it stops camping, instead of what real RD does is just kill you and fuck you and your shitty game. But yeah, that's kind of funny that the April's Fool event's artillery was better than game design than actual artillery. So our team has managed to push through a 1-2 line. Unless they all get RD, which might happen, then we should have that line quite comfortably. I'll try to do some damage to this IS-3. As you can see, the aiming time, although it doesn't feel bad, but you can see your turret lacking behind all the time, and you pretty much... I mean, the faster your turret traverses, the faster your gun is going to be in place and starts aiming. While in this tank it almost never is in place, so you always have to start aiming from scratch, and penning the Tiger Piece side armor is too much to ask. And then like a dodgier shot hits him actually. I'm just like trying to get the plate, the shoulder plate and the side of the turret, which I will succeed quite many times in a row unless he becomes a one shot, and then obviously he has the shield up for at least one shot. So we are at 2k damage now after shooting for like 3 days, what it effectively felt like, and now everybody starts looking at me. I also lost absolutely all my health engaging one T-54 because he was a T-54, even though that wasn't really the greatest engagement since I tracked him. As I said, my tank has no fucking meaning in this game, so it doesn't really matter if I die early or not. If I can take out the T-54, then it is completely fine by me. But you can just see, like, I don't really think that this extra penetration that I had over, like, something like a Comet here helped me. And if I was a Panther, my gun would have actually worked better, and I would have actually been able to hit things properly. But since I wasn't either in the Comet or the Panther, I have to deal with this shit, and it is quite annoying. 2 RDs and 3 enemy tanks remaining in the game. I will try to get some flanking shots here. I obviously don't want to die because my only motivation for playing this shit at this point was just to ace it, so that's what I'm trying to do here. Russian Cowbinger armor obviously doing its best to bounce all my shots. At least I pulled one penetration off. The IS-3 started to turn his turret, but he started doing it way too late, so he won't get a shot on me. To be fair, I guess if you compare this to most other tier 7 TDs, you kinda feel like it's above average. Well, I guess. But at the same time, all the tier 7 TDs are so fucking bad, it doesn't really mean much. I mean, being above average, if you compare yourself to a pile of shit, is not really saying much about yourself. So, even though the tank might not be as bad as I made it sound to be, this thing is fucking frustrating to play, and the shitty ass gun doesn't make it better. And I would play a T25-2 over this any time of the day. So yeah, there's my assessment of this tank. And let's look at the end plates now. So here's the end plate. 1896 experience earned, 3267 damage done, 1659 damage assisted, and no, that's a Confederate medal as well. Before I completely forget, equipment I would use on this shit is rammer, ventilation, and coded optics or binos, depending on how good your crew is. And when it comes to general rules of playing this thing, just fucking try to stay the hull down and use your gun depression. Try not to get shot, because as you saw, 3 shots and this tank is pretty much dead, no matter what is shooting it, unless it's another Challenger or a gun of any of the same kind of caliber. Another way how to get past this tank is pay Wargaming money, so you can free XP through this and get to the next shitty tank and get to the shitty tier 10. That has absolutely no purpose in this game. Because reasons. Just avoid this line. Pretend that it doesn't exist and you won't get hurt. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next one.